Remember when buying a graphics card was simple? You checked some FPS numbers, compared a few benchmarks, picked the faster GPU, installed your favorite games and played without thinking too much. But today, one thing has become one of the biggest discussions in PC gaming: VRAM. Suddenly everyone is asking the same questions. Is 8GB VRAM still enough? Why are new games using so much memory? Why does a powerful graphics card sometimes struggle even when the GPU itself is fast? A few years ago, 8GB VRAM sounded like a huge amount, but now some gamers are worried that it might not be enough anymore. So what actually happened? Did games suddenly become too advanced? Are developers not optimizing properly? Or is the way we judge graphics cards changing forever? To understand the problem, first we need to understand what VRAM actually does. Many people think a graphics card is only about GPU power and FPS, but VRAM plays a very important role. Your graphics card uses VRAM to store textures, models, shadows, lighting information, and many other things required to create the image you see on screen. The higher the graphics settings, the higher the resolution, and the bigger the game world, the more VRAM the game usually needs. This is why a game running at 4K resolution with ultra textures can use much more VRAM compared to the same game running at lower settings. Modern games have changed a lot compared to older titles. Worlds are bigger, environments are more detailed, characters have higher quality models, and textures are much sharper. Developers are trying to create more realistic games than ever before. Technologies like ray tracing, high-resolution texture packs, and advanced lighting systems can improve visuals, but they also increase hardware requirements. Better graphics are not free. Every improvement needs more processing power and more memory. But the confusing part is that running out of VRAM does not always look like a simple FPS problem. Many players check average FPS and think everything is fine, but the game still feels wrong. You might get high FPS but experience random stutters, frame drops, texture loading problems, or inconsistent smoothness. This happens because when VRAM becomes full, the system has to move data somewhere else, and that process is much slower. So two graphics cards can show similar average FPS numbers, but the actual gaming experience can feel completely different. This is also why many gamers have started paying attention to frame time and smoothness instead of only looking at FPS. A game running at 100 FPS with constant stutters can feel worse than a game running at lower FPS but with stable performance. Modern PC gaming is no longer just about getting the highest number on the FPS counter. The overall experience matters more. Another reason VRAM requirements increased is because games are now designed around newer hardware. Current generation consoles have much more available memory compared to older consoles, and developers naturally start building games around these new limits. Bigger environments, faster loading, and more detailed assets become possible. But PC gaming is complicated because everyone has different hardware. Some players have the latest expensive GPUs, while others are still using older cards. Creating a game that works perfectly on every combination is extremely difficult. However, hardware is not the only reason. Optimization is also a major part of the discussion. Not every game uses a lot of VRAM because it truly needs it. Sometimes games launch with poor optimization, memory problems, shader compilation issues, and performance bugs. We have seen many PC games release with serious problems. Then after a few updates they suddenly perform much better on the exact same hardware. That proves that developers and optimization still matter. This is why the conversation around VRAM becomes complicated. Some people blame the hardware companies for releasing graphics cards with less memory. Other people blame developers for not optimizing games properly. The reality is probably somewhere in the middle. Games are becoming more demanding, but players also expect expensive hardware to last longer. So now comes the biggest question. Is an 8GB graphics card actually dead? The simple answer is no. Millions of gamers around the world are still using 8GB GPUs and playing games every day. For competitive games like Counter-Strike, Valorant, Fortnite, Apex Legends, and many online multiplayer titles, 8GB VRAM is usually still enough. These games are designed to run on a wide range of systems because they need a large player base. The bigger challenge comes with new AAA games, especially at higher resolutions and maximum settings. If you want ultra textures, ray tracing, and high resolutions, then VRAM usage can increase very quickly. This does not mean an 8GB GPU suddenly became useless. It simply means you may need to adjust some settings instead of automatically choosing ultra everything. The interesting thing is how much GPU buying advice has changed. In the past, most people only cared about raw FPS. The faster card was considered the better card. Today gamers look at many more things. How much VRAM does it have? Does it support modern features? How efficient is it? How good are the drivers? How long will it last? Buying a graphics card has become more confusing than ever. And maybe the biggest lesson is that ultra settings are not always necessary. Many games have options that use a huge amount of VRAM but make a very small visual difference during actual gameplay. Lowering texture quality slightly or turning down a few demanding settings can save a lot of memory while the game still looks amazing. Sometimes optimized settings give a much better experience than blindly choosing maximum graphics. So the truth is this: 8GB GPUs are not dead, but gaming is changing. If your current graphics card runs the games you enjoy, there is no reason to panic or upgrade immediately. Good hardware does not become useless overnight. But if you are buying a new GPU today and planning to keep it for many years, VRAM is something you should seriously consider. Because the future of PC gaming is no longer only about FPS. Smooth gameplay, optimization, memory, and the overall experience matter just as much. At the end of the day, the best graphics card is not the one that only looks good in benchmarks. It is the one that gives you the experience you actually enjoy. What do you think? Are 8GB GPUs really becoming outdated, or are modern games just poorly optimized? Comment your thoughts below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.